And I think too, what happens a lot in every business is it's tough to let go of stuff. It especially if it's something that you've built, or it's maybe some proprietary information or a skill set or something like that. Yeah, it's just not going to get done the way I want it done. It's just, and it's kind of like I always joke around with my wife. It's my opinion of what is clean has changed now that I have kids.
Yeah,
and my bandwidth to actually clean it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So that used to not be clean, but now that I don't want to do it, and my kids are doing it. All right, I'll let that slide a little bit.
Yeah, totally. 70% done is 100% awesome.
Hey, I'm Armando Leduc, producer, film actor, and owner of Leduc Entertainment. I've chosen a life off the beaten path and wanted to find others that are doing the same. Spaghetti on the Wall is a show based on all of the years that I've thrown spaghetti on the wall and nurtured what stuck. We will share fun stories, ideas, tips, tricks, and more. Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when you are listening to this podcast, Spaghetti on the Wall. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Cody. What's up, dude?
Hey, man, I'm glad that your air conditioning's working. That's all I'm going to say. It's that time of the year, and I'd always laugh at people that joked about the weather until I guess you get a little bit older, and then it gets hot.
You talk about the weather these days.
I was
talking about the weather today.
It's
and I'm
insane.
I hate to talk about the weather, but when it's this damn hot, you got to talk about it.
Yeah, but no, it's. I'm glad to be here. This is exciting, man. I know when you and I met, you had kind of talked to me a little bit about this, and I went back and started looking at some things, and you got a pretty cool little vibe here, man.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, we have a good time. Yeah, so we got a cool vibe, right? We try to keep things entertaining. Try to cure people of bad marketing.
Yeah, that's a harder thing to do.
Yeah.
Or much easier to say than do.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you've got a marketing company called
3131 Media Solutions.
How did you come up with that?
So we are a subsidiary of a credit union, local credit union here in town, OnPath Federal Credit Union. OnPath went through a rebranding phase in 2019. They were the Avondale Shipyards Credit Union, so they were ASI. A lot of people still know them. 2019, they rebrand to OnPath, and they run into a lot of trademark litigation issues with that. So you can imagine the board of directors, the CEO, everyone around that is very kind of gun shy when it comes to trademark litigation, trademark infringement. So as we're starting this company up, you've probably been here. There's just about every name for every marketing company, if you were to Google it, out there in the world. I mean, everybody's got a marketing company, and there's a name somewhere that's called something. So after about 3 or 4 of these tries that I was trying to name the company, and I'd still have to go get kind of an opinion, if you will, from the attorneys. Well, that starts adding up. Yeah. And so each time that there was just a slight chance that there could be some litigation on this, it was Wow. So we recently moved into our new corporate headquarters at 3131 North I-10 Service Road. And I said, you know what? We're going to call it 3131 Media Solutions because you can't get sued over your address. Period. End of story. Let's kind of check that box and move on.
Very cool.
So I wish there was a better story behind that,
but it's for SEO.
Yeah, it's all based on litigation. Yeah, and the lack thereof. So
that's
cool, man.
Yeah. So why marketing for you?
It's kind of a long story. I started off, I wanted to be an engineer in college, almost flunked out, got into broadcasting at that point. It was kind of a passion of mine. I always called games on the radio and things like that, and got into it was the first 10 years of my career was being a sports reporter. Loved it, have a pretty cool bucket list. And then as you start a family and you're realizing that you just don't have a lot of leverage when it comes to contract negotiations, you're just not paid a lot of money. You go see what all the advertising executives at the station are driving, and I was driving a 2000 Dodge Ram truck, and saw what they were driving, so I wanted to switch over to ad sales, and so I did that and was pretty successful. And then about a year and a half ago, the CEO at OnPath had this idea to start this marketing company that's called a credit union service organization, the subsidiary of the credit union, where we would really focus on helping other credit unions with their marketing and advertising. And I essentially got to start a business with someone else's money, is what I kind of like to joke about.
Yeah.
And we've been blessed. We've been really fortunate to get out there. You kind of hit the nail on the head. help people stop doing the wrong things,
Right.
you know, and kind of stay focused on the things that they can control and the things that they can measure. So that's really it. It was to get out, kind of start something on our own, create a legacy. That's pretty big for us. That's kind of our mottos. We want our daughters and our kids to kind of drive by and see something that we've started. But that's it. It's helping people advance their business and be able to help them tell stories.
How do you market a federal credit union?
Yeah, it's all still a business, right? I mean, the credit unions are not for profit, but they still need to drive revenue that they can then give back to their to their members. And it's simple. It's measure it. It's all right. We have a need here. You know, if it's car loans or whatever it may be, we go find people that need car loans. If the credit union needs to bring in deposits, we go find people that have investable income and hopefully tell them the right story as to what it is that the credit union's mission is, and really try to remove yourself from becoming a commodity and really kind of tell that story. But that's it. It's supply and demand. It's finding people that are, I like to use the term, raising their hand for what it is that you've got, and that's kind of how we roll with that. And we're not cookie cutter by any means, but that really is what it boils down to, is finding the right people.
How are you guys finding, with the Silicon Valley Bank and all of that stuff? How's that affecting you guys?
You know, I think what really happened, ultimately there's a effect right off the bat when that happens. People get a little bit nervous. But the credit union movement itself, goes back a really long way, and it truly is a cooperative movement. It goes back to that old line of, from Jimmy Stewart, in the movie Miracle on 34th. I think it's Miracle on 34th.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life, where he's like, hey, and your money's in his house, and your money's in his. It's truly what it is. And so if you can stay on mission with that, if you can stay on message with your mission, as opposed to, hey, look at all of our money that's going to these shareholders that needing to be bailed out. That's not how credit unions work. Credit unions. Well, look, you're gonna start making me lie. Look, I am not the financial guy at all.
Sure.
I'm the guy that almost flunked out of engineering school. But like I said earlier, but no, it's an easy thing. You buy money and you sell money. Right. But at the same time, what you're doing is you're making sure that there's an underbanked and there's underserved pockets of our community throughout the country. We're making sure that from a credit union side that we are giving them the opportunities that maybe the other banks aren't
giving them.
Yeah, because of a credit score, because of a payment history, whatever that may be. Credit unions are kind of that backstop, if you will, that really help people get going. And not just personally from a financial standpoint, but businesses as well. You go in, you start trying to capitalize a business, and you don't really have much to do. You don't have much to put in front of these big banks. And if you don't have a huge, a lot of zeros in your bank account, you don't really get looked at. And a credit union, just because of their purpose, can help people out, I think, that maybe can't get helped out a lot.
Why, how do I get into a credit union? Do you have to be invited?
So there's a couple different ones. There's, the field of membership varies throughout. OnPath itself is if you live, work, or worship in the parishes that they serve, which is technically the New Orleans market. Now, some of them are, you have to work for a particular company. That's kind of how they originally started out. But then the field of membership really opened up because the need was there. I think that it was seen that there was a lot of underserved and a lot of underbanked communities. So that's how it is. If you are a relative of someone that's in a credit union, that's usually an automatic way to get in. But OnPath Federal Credit Union, live, work, and worship in the New Orleans market, if you will. I think it's 11 different parishes that kind of qualify for that. Yeah, you can come in and open an account.
And everybody keeps their money all in that credit union, or do they, people do whatever they want, but have you seen that most people are keeping their money in that credit union and not necessarily go out for other things?
And I think you're kind of talking about making sure their checking account, their savings account, and their mortgage and stuff is with, and we do see a lot of that. Now, I think typically once you kind of get used to a financial institution, that's usually where you go. But just think about how, especially as in the younger generations, in the Gen X's and below, they're all over the place. It's a digital thing. They're in the Chimes, they're in the Venmos and things like that.
Yeah.
That's technically what they think is their checking account. So credit unions have to make that switch to be in front of them and talking that language and giving them the technology that they need, or they're not going to be around anymore.
Right.
20 years ago, and these numbers will be off a little bit, but it was about 20 years ago, there's probably a little more than 9,000 credit unions in the country. Now there's a little less than 5,000.
Oh, wow.
So, but there's still the number of credit union members grow. So think about that. It's just you're either growing with those members and giving them what they need, or you're getting bought out by someone else and merging and things like that. So
That makes sense.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on crypto?
Man, I wish I had more of it, to be honest. I'm kind of that. I always tell everybody I was raised like a gold watch. My family was a gold watch. You work somewhere for 40 years, you get the gold watch, and you retire. Not a lot of entrepreneurial stuff that the risk taking. So I still am a little bit guarded with all that. But I will say this: every convention that I go to, that's what's being brought up. And so where I think the hesitation is all right, well, what's the government going to do with crypto? And so because there's that question still out there, I think a lot of your credit unions are wanting to see kind of what happens. They're almost in a wait and see. But with that said, we've got we've got some members that kind of keep a little side account over there for their crypto kind of funny money. And so we can be that account too, where you don't have to keep that somewhere, out in the ethosphere. You can keep it right here. And so, but I think it's going to change the way people do their banking at some point.
Yeah,
it's going to. Is it going to be good or bad? I don't know enough. I'm just a marketer, man. I don't know enough about all that. What about you? What do you think?
I don't know. It's until they can figure out how to regulate it where people can trust it a little bit more, I don't see it taking hold. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But then you have countries like El Salvador and, that are making Bitcoin like the currency.
And, the whole blockchain is one of the most kind of safest ways to document things that go on. I think a lot of people, at least I did when I was doing my initial research, the blockchain is simple. You make a transaction, it's there forever. You're not changing that or anything. So there is a way that it can be monitored and be safe. But yeah, I wish I knew a little bit more about it. I wish I was a little bit more of a risk taker on that front. But I think it's coming. I think that there's going to be huge disruptions just in the way, just the physical idea of money is going to change.
And the different coins that are out there, right? I mean, you got Bitcoin that's like stable, right? But like, how do you I mean, at least Bitcoin has, you think it's stable, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, what?
It tanked.
I remember, it was 66,000 at one point, and it went all the way down to 30 something. So then do you buy it at that point? Or,
Right.
I mean, so.
And then it's looked at, then it looks more like an investment than actual currency, right? Like,
yeah.
And then at that point, and then what's the gas fees and all of that stuff, like to make it easy to transact, I don't necessarily, they haven't necessarily made it easy to transact, or maybe they have. You just need to be in the know. I don't know.
I think there's certain businesses that are taking, Bitcoin, or Mark Cuban, owner of the Dallas Mavericks. I think you could buy season tickets with, what was the one he was? It wasn't Bitcoin, but it was
Ethereum.
Was it Doge? It was either Doge or Ethereum or something like that. So the more that starts to happen, then the more you're going to see it. I know a lot of people that went and bought some Bitcoin and put it in kind of an account for their kids, almost like, maybe when you and I were growing up, our parents used to do the savings bonds, right?
Yeah.
So they did that with Bitcoin, and and the idea was, all right, so here's, X amount of dollars. If it does change the world and now it's worth way much more, look at what I've done for my child.
Right.
But now let's say it's only 5,000 and that goes down to zero. Now there's a lesson to be learned, that you could teach your kids. So I've seen that argument, out there as well with that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm pretty I'm a pretty big risk taker. Obviously, I'm in business. You know what I mean? So, and they say, you know, more than half of the businesses go out of business within, you know, what is the statistic? 2-3 years?
I want to say, I thought it was within 2 or 3 years. Yeah,
it's
easily.
Like 50% of businesses tank, you know, so.
Yeah, that right there too is you know, you asked me earlier, why do you get into this? And I'd love to slow that curve down a little bit, you know, because I think there's kind of two ways about it with a business. It's one, well, I don't need to market because I can't afford it, and then two, or I'm doing it completely wrong, not measuring it, not seeing what's going on. So kind of, you know, probably something very similar to what you're doing. The more I can help a business go from here to here, I mean, I feel like I was a part of it. Like there's a good feeling for that, you know, and then all the people that you're affecting because that business is doing well. Like think about that. That's a lot of goodwill you're building up.
Yeah, I think so. You know, it's funny. A mentor of mine told me that the ratios should be 37% goes to employees, 25% should go to marketing, 10% operations, and then the rest should go to the owner as profit. What are your thoughts on that initially?
Man, okay, you made me do some quick math there. All right, so 37, 25 to marketing, you said? That's as a guy that's you know, that's commissioned and you know, makes money off of every dollar that you manage. Yeah, that's nice. That's aggressive. But I think if you're doing it the right, and you know, in marketing, everybody loves to just kind of throw everything that they don't know is what's going on with their business. It kind of gets, it gets thrown over the fence and into marketing. And so then it's like, well, I don't know what's my marketing to do. Well, I mean, if you're printing out a bunch of stuff and just leaving them, you know, at the supermarket, you think that that's marketing. It comes from your marketing budget, but what's it really doing for you? So credit unions right now, what their main thing with marketing budgets, not advertising, but marketing budgets, it's roughly about 0.13% of their net assets. So you're looking at a $800 million credit union spends $800,000 on marketing, or at least that's kind of what the idea of it is. So I think each industry is probably a little bit different. I work with a lot of car dealers. They used to be, I want to say it used to be $450, $500 per car on their lot. You know, COVID really changed up that.
How did it change that up?
Well, they didn't have the inventory then at that point. So, you know, if you remember, they went from
chip shortage.
Yeah, they went from 800 cars on their lot to maybe 100 if they were lucky at that point. Yeah, when they weren't able to get cars in. Now they're still not. I don't think they'll ever get back to those and $1,100 or 1,100 car lots out there. They're just not. The manufacturing is just not going to probably catch up with that. But what's happening is they're making so much more on those cars. So how does that math change how much they want to market per car? You know, that all comes down to how much paper they've got on that car, how much they're having to pay for that paper, how long they want to pay that paper. So they gotta try to get it out, you know, as fast as they can. So all that. This is a very long answer to your question. I think each industry is different. I tend to like the more aggressive way on marketing is if you're doing it the right way and you're measuring it, plain and simple.
And is the right way? What is the right way?
We believe you got to measure. If you're not measuring it, it ain't making you money. That's what we say around the office all the time. So our key principles are reach the right people with the right message at the right time. And then on top of all that, measure it. So, for credit unions, we break things down by product, by what the goal is. And that's you've probably seen this. It's very difficult to get people to drill down to a measurable aspect of a marketing campaign. Mm-hmm. Oh, what do you need? I need to make more money. I need more customers. Okay, well, everybody needs that, but we've got to. How are we measuring that? How are we? Is it new website visitors? Is it new unique? Is it time on site? Is it the actual number of credit cards people are signing up for? I mean, let's get tangible. And so you start having those conversations, and they get kind of uncomfortable at times. Yeah. Because then people have to really think, well, crap. I guess I'm going to be accountable to this as well. But that's what we drill down at the credit union level. We find out, all right, what do you want to do? Or is it new members? Okay, well, how are we getting them? Are we getting them with new checking accounts? Are we getting them with credit cards? Are we getting them with auto loans? What is it that we're getting new members with? And then where were you at this point last year? Where were you at last month? Where do we want to be? Yeah, where do we want to be?
Let's talk about that for a second, because I have conversations with my clients all the time. That's like, hey, yeah, great, we're gonna bring 200 plus leads in your door on a monthly basis. If you can't close these deals, and I'm sure with a credit union, obviously they have the processes and procedures and all of that.
Yeah, some of them, yeah. Some of them don't. Yeah.
Some of them don't.
Some of them do. Some of them do. Some of them don't.
Oh,
wow. I mean, yeah, that's with every. And I interrupted your story.
No worries. Yeah, no, I was just.
Yeah.
Some of them do, some of them don't. And so I find as a marketing professional, we turn into consultants, also in regard to like the operational, components of their business. What is the sales intake like? What is your follow-up strategy? How are you closing these deals? You know what I mean? Like, sure, I can give you the measurement of how all of these people are coming into your door, right? I can show you what we're doing to get 200 people in. But if they come here and they don't answer you guys don't answer the phone in 3 rings, there's no way you guys are, what is the sales strategy? How are you doing follow-ups? Is there a prospect journey? Is there a customer journey? Are you asking for referrals? Is there, you know what I mean? Like, how, the equation is so, we're part of this thing, and then there's so much more unanswered back here, So how are you also sort of creating consulting in your approach?
You almost have to, I think, for that very reason, right? Yeah. If we're going to be measured on the complete outcome, and we'll have this conversation with people, all right, well, no, look, our KPI is going to be X because that's what we can control. But if you are going to make it members and membership growth or whatever it may be, cars sold, all that stuff, then we're going to come in and we're going to look at it. And by no means do I know how to sell a car. By no means do I know how to upsell from a CD to another loan or something. I don't know the ins and outs of all of that, but what I do know, to your point you kind of made earlier, I know how to kind of ask questions and ask the right questions and make sure that the phone's getting answered and all that stuff. So yes, we do try to do that. We try to look at, I try to be as analytical as I can and come with as much data as I can. So we uncovered with one of our clients that they were losing members. So in other words, you've got people coming in on the funnel, but they're losing people with closed accounts on the back end.
Yeah.
But it was by simply reaching out twice before their account got feed out to zero, they were saving 12 to 15% of those accounts, which when you started doing the math, if you started looking at, all right, we need X amount of new members by the end of December, by looking at that math, we could say if we increase that from 12 to 20%, we're saving a month of metrics right there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So instead of focusing on, all right, well, how are we getting, we went and focused back on attrition.
Yeah.
And how were those conversations going? And so it helped us kind of shrink that timeline for us naturally. But yeah, we try to do all that. And then, but this as well, business owners are wearing 15, 16 different hats in a single day, and those hats change from day to day.
Yeah.
And so to get them really focused in on one of those things, that's a very difficult concept as well. So we're very intentional with the conversations that we're having of, look, guys, if we're going to partner, we are not a vendor. We are a partner with you.
Yeah.
And if so, this is what's got to happen. And look, we've been very blessed. It's a relationship kind of thing. You know how this goes. 99 times out of 100, they're very receptive to that.
Yeah.
So, but that's how you have to come in. You have to be a consultant, or you become a vendor. And when you're a vendor, now you're commoditized. When you're commoditized, you're just one price point away from being fired. Essentially.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. It's so funny. I had do you know who Brian Hong is?
That name sounds very familiar.
He runs Infintech.
Okay.
SEO website design company. I had him on here a few weeks ago, but it was cool because he was saying that what he likes to do is do joint ventures with his clients. And so what he's like, all right, you've got a construction company, you've got a good product, maybe you don't have the marketing spend. He's like, I'll put in the $10,000-$15,000 a month in marketing spend for a piece of the business. And like, he's got 7 partnerships. And I'm like, dude, that might be the thing.
We can steal that idea. There's nothing. We're marketers. We steal
no,
ideas
I
all
told
the
him
time.
that. I was like, do you need to create a course on how to do that? You know what I mean? So I'm in the beginning stages of like trying to create some partnerships.
And that goes back to, I'm sure you've had this a lot. You know, a lot of clients initially will be like, I want to guarantee if I'm going to spend this much, I'm not going to pay if we don't get it. And then it kind of goes back to that whole, we kind of lose them at this point. But that model almost kind of takes that into account a little bit. That's interesting.
I've closed since implementing that strategy. I closed 3 deals.
Wow.
Because I told them, I said, look, I know I'll grow your business. I know it. I've seen it. This is not theoretical. It's predictable. It's as predictable as why Applebee's, orders the amount of food it orders on a Friday night, because it knows predictably what people are going to do. Specifically around this year, this time, this is probably in, between 10 or 15 people, they're going to be right on the money, right? Because it's all predictable, and people are predictable too, So if you do this consistently over time and you follow the right path, you will 20x, 30x your business.
Yep.
And they're like, and I was like, but I want ownership in the
want a
company.
part of it,
Come on. And they'll go, I'll just pay you for it. Be like, all right, great. Well, then that works too. Either way.
No, I really, and you'd have to do some due diligence and make sure that you're getting the right one on that. But I think that's a brilliant idea.
Yeah. Well,
I
I was thinking too, I was like, man, because we're doing well. What do? I invest in real estate? And I'm like, I don't have the passion for it,
Right.
Like I don't really care about it, but I do have passion for business. I do love like growing business and scaling it, and the processes, procedures, and marketing and the whole nine. So I was like, yeah, it's totally up my alley. Like, why not own parts of 7, 8, 9 businesses, and then we just handle the marketing.
And you're directly affecting that. No, I like that. You go back to the passion part too. That's important. We're trying to grow our side. We're trying to grow that consulting side, that teaching side. That's kind of a passion of mine. And I think that there's a good need for that as well out there. Just being able to articulate what it is that works in a way that people understand. I always like to tell people, all right, without showing me, without doing anything, tell me how you tie a shoe. And well, no, you can't show me. You have to tell me how to tie a shoe. And when you kind of start thinking about that, how to do that, if you can get yourself into the practice of marketing, of selling, of whatever it is, be able to communicate something that it seems it's not very complicated, but it's hard to articulate.
Right.
If you can get to that point, I think there's a value in that as well.
Clarity is key. I was reading a book. It's called Buy Back Your Time. Have you read it?
No, I haven't. That was one thing I was hoping to get out of here, though. I was going to pick your brain on the latest book that you read.
Oh, man. So I've been – so a friend, my mentor was like, he's doing 52 and 52, so 52 books in 52 weeks.
Yeah,
and I've done it.
I'm doing 23 in 2023, so he's way ahead of me. Yeah.
Well, you know what you do? You do is on Audible, you put it at 2.0, the speed. So I know it's like – but some of these guys, with the way they speak, it's like they're just right here. And I'm like, man, 2.0. But I've trained my ear to now listen to it that fast. So it sounds normal. So if I put it on normal speed, it sounds like they're dragging. I'm like, dude, come on, get to the point. So anyway, all that to say, like, Audible's my friend. But the book, Buy Back Your Time, man, what a great it. So the formula is that you divide your profit divided by 2,000 because that's the hours. You'll come up with your hourly rate, right?
Okay.
Based on your profit. Then you divide that by 4, and that becomes your buyback rate, right? So.
Okay. Divide by 4.
Divided by your hourly rate divided by 4 becomes your buyback rate. Meaning, if you were making $100 an hour, then $25 an hour is your buyback rate.
Okay.
Meaning, when you're doing things, right, and you're going through your day, they have the 4 quadrants, right? The 4 quadrants are things that make you little money or to no money, but they drain your energy. Those are delegatable tasks, right? This is low, unskilled work that, it's just time consuming, like going to the grocery store or laundry or whatever, right? Then you have high things that make you money, but are draining your energy too. These should be your leaders, your managers, people that you put in charge of, making money, right? But things that are draining your energy, you probably want to stay away from. Then you have things that light you up that don't make you money. And then you have things that light you up and make you a lot of money. And then that's the quadrant that we should be spending 80% of our time in. But we don't, right? As just human beings and owners.
Stuff happens.
Yeah, stuff happens. We're not really thinking about that, right? And when I started thinking after this book, I started thinking about my time, and I'm like, how am I spending my time? And is this something that I can delegate to someone with the amount of buyback time that I have? And I'm like, yes. As a matter of fact, I can. I don't need to be doing this anymore. Plus, it drains me. I hate it. So now what I do is if I have to do it once, I record it on a Zoom or a Loom, and then I delegate it out. I'm like, all right, this becomes your task, right? Like today, I need to paint this wall green, right? And I'm like, Wilson, I would just pick it up and go, right? And I was like, Wilson, please go and buy this, the green paint, all of that stuff.
Well, let me ask you this. So you guys how long have you had this business?
I started in 2012.
Okay.
Doing, sketchy characters is where it started. So
Yeah.
doing fun, but wasn't making any money off that. Rebranded in 2016 to Leduc Entertainment to do more corporate work. And we were doing like weddings and one-offs commercials. But it wasn't until 3 years ago that we moved into like volume of content and social media content marketing. Yeah. And that's when everything just went boom, like exploded.
So 3 years into it, at that point, when did that light go off as far as, all right, I have to grow, I have to scale, or I'm going to run myself into the ground? I
love this story because it changed my life, right? So my mentor, who's a friend of mine who I went to high school with, has an extremely successful law firm in Atlanta, right? And he called me 3 years ago and was like, hey, can you shoot some videos for me for my new business called 8 Figure Firm? I'm going to teach other attorneys how to scale their businesses to 8 figures, right? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And so I came in, I shot a bunch of videos for him, and he was like, Armando, you have a 7-figure business. And then at the time, I was only pulling in, $69,000 a year. That was like my best year ever, with the company. So mindset-wise, I wasn't even registering it. I always thought myself, I'm going to be a millionaire or whatever, but I could not. I just didn't know or had the confidence, right? And he was like, it's just a mindset shift, and these are the things. And it started, I can teach you all of this, Armando. And I was like, all right, $2,500 a month. And I was like, what? Like $2,500 a month, dude? It's more than paying for my house. What are you talking about, right? He's like, look, I can give you this information for free, but if you don't invest in yourself, you're not going to implement the strategies. And he said the speed of growth in your business is tied to the speed of implementation. And if you can implement fast, you will grow fast. And I was like, okay. And I had seen that he had done it for a nonprofit attorney in Orlando. She went from $700K a year to $2.4 million in 6 months. He started growing his business. Within 6 months, he was at $106,000 a month in revenue for his new business, 8 Figure Firm. Right?
Yeah.
Doing all of the things that he said, to do. Just implement the strategies. And I was like, so I did. I started implementing the strategy. The first month I worked with him, $30K. I had a $30,000 a month. The first month I started working with him in terms of like mentorship and mindset. And because like when I started talking to people, it was different. Like the conversations was different. The confidence was different. How it was, the intonation was different. Everything was just different because I had already seen that it worked, right? It was like, when you know something and then you're like out there talking about it, it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, that is the thing because you've seen it. Yeah. It's like with my own eyes. So to get back to your point, I got super overwhelmed because I was only focusing on top line revenue, which is what he was saying. He's like, Armando, you have all you need to focus on right now is top line revenues, is like just getting people in the door, closing deals. If you can do that, then you can hire out, because if you start working on operations before you have the revenue, that's when businesses fail, right? And I think a lot of business owners, they get caught up in the working in the business and fulfilling, instead
of working on the business.
And they don't work on the business, and then they sure as hell don't work on top line revenue, right? Like that's not, for some reason, people's relationship with money, and I had a problem with that too. How I grew up, my relationship with money was off, because the people in my life viewed money differently, right, than people that had money, right? And now that I have money, I understand, okay, I need to think about investment opportunities for this money, right? Like if I spend money today on this, am I going to get the investment back? And it doesn't necessarily need to be money always, right? Could be a relationship, deepening of relationships. It could be, a handful of other things. But like when you're spending money, don't spend money just fruitlessly. Just
measure it.
Have
a goal. Have intentionality. Yep.
So once I started doing that, I started getting further. I started making hires that were out of my comfort zone. Like, I had editors because I knew I needed to like rid myself of editing. Editing is just takes up too much time, right? So then I got into operational things, and I was like, man, I just kept hiring bad because I was trying to save money instead of hiring the A player.
Right.
Once I hired the A player, he was able, the leverage that comes with hiring A players elevates the entire business, right? And so I made a big investment on my COO, who's still with me after 2 years, and like I knew that if I had him, things were gonna change, and they did 100%. So there's another book called Who, and it's all about hiring, and it's all about really thinking about when you're hiring, the scorecards and how are you measuring, right? Like understanding what the person is coming in to do and how you're going to measure it, and letting them know these are the expectations, these are the deadlines, this is the KPIs that we expect. Are you cool with that? And this is the vision, mission, core values. And if you're cool, then we're all on the same page, right? And so doing that really helped, scale the business. And now we're in a trajectory that we can accept, continuing to build the business, and we'll always know what the threshold is to bring in more people,
Yeah.
Right?
You've got that equation kind of done. Now, and I think too, what happens a lot in every business is it's tough to let go of stuff, especially if it's something that you've built, or it's, maybe some proprietary information or a skill set or something like that. Yeah, it's just not going to get done the way I want it done. It's just, and it's kind of like, I was joking around with my wife. It's, my opinion of what is clean has changed now that I have kids. Yeah. And my bandwidth to actually clean it. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that used to not be clean, but now that I don't want to do it and my kids are doing it, all right, I'll let that slide a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Well, in the book, Buy Back Your Time, it says 70% done is 100% awesome.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I love that.
Effective,
Get it done and move on, and then perfect it. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
and
you
the
wait.
people, and here's the thing, like your employees are not going to care as much as you. Just know that. If they come in, they're only going to, at the most, they're going to give 70%. And that's a great employee. And you know what? Great. I'm not going to expect them to give 100%. I'm not. You know what I mean? Like I'll push for people to be better and, and always get, A players. But, and this is all stuff that I've heard, in these 8-figure conferences and things like that. Like, don't expect 100%. You're not going to get it. You're going to get 70%. And obviously the core value should be there. Like if they're not living up to the core values, then yeah, and it's not a good culture fit, then probably let them go. But the expectations of owners thinking that their employees are going to be giving 100% is just a fantasy. It's just not existing, right? They don't have any stake in the business,
See, but then we come back maybe on to where you talked about investing in those companies from the marketing side.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I am kind of looking at is the commission part of it too. If you find people that are driven by the money, but hey, if this company is successful, there's more in it for you as well. So there's a buy-in on that. But no, it's those core values. If you can't find the people that have that same mission, that care as least as much as you about their clients or the overall mission, that does make it tougher. And then as you start scaling, then it becomes tougher and tougher to find that many more.
Yeah, I think. Well, and it was so funny because somebody had posted on Facebook, a business owner. So and so. It was a text message that they screenshot. I'm not coming in today, right? The employee. What do you mean? It's like, it's Friday, and my husband said that I don't need to come to work today, so I'm not coming in, right? And the woman's like, this is what business ownership is like, and nobody wants to work, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I blame the business owner. I don't blame this person. And I'm going to tell you why, because if the employee understood the vision, mission, core values, and there was clarity about what it is that they were doing there, and the employee wasn't just there to get a check. Mm-hmm. There was something else that they're there for. Are you building your employees? Are you giving them skills besides a check? Are you treating them like they're a commodity, or are you treating them like they're a person? Are they married? I'm not saying that people are irresponsible. Some people are, right? But I'm going to blame. You have to take ownership, and there's another book, Extreme Ownership. Yeah. That you have to put it on you. Yep. You have to put it on you.
There's no one else. Yeah. There's no one else there. And then two, what happens a lot of times, that conversation that's maybe the trigger point, it could have been uncovered way early if you're having the right conversations and the right expectations and all that. So again, if you're measuring it and then holding people accountable. If you get to that boiling point, you've done something and you don't know about it. Yeah. That, to your point, that's on you as a business owner.
Yeah. But everybody wants to point the finger, right? And it's like, dude, stop pointing the finger.
I call it I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and when I started, I started working when I was 15. It wasn't there, and I don't mean to be back in my day. I don't want to be that guy, but I see now, even with some older employees, there's this fear of being fired, right? And so that fear of being fired turns into that blame game. And it's the most unproductive thing that I think is out there, as opposed to solving identifying the problem, solving it, and moving on. We stop at, we've identified the problem, now we don't want to know whose fault it is. Well, that does nothing to help fix the problem at that point. And so I've had these talks with CEOs, and just how do we get past that? How can we create an environment where you're not going to lose your job by a mistake. Right. You're going to lose your job by not fixing things. And I just wish that mindset would change. Look, here's the email that says that I was supposed to do this. Okay, well, fantastic. We still haven't solved the problem yet.
I'll take it a step further. Right? And we had this problem. We still have this problem. I'm not even gonna lie. We still have this problem that a mistake has been made. We figure out what the problem is, right? Somebody takes responsibility. Here's what doesn't happen all the time: the implementation of the solution. We understand, right? Great, the mistake was made. Nobody was held accountable, blah, 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 blah. Great. That's fine. If we don't implement the strategy to solve it, it's going to happen again, right? Yeah. And so that's something that I'm trying to drill into my team, which is we've solved this. Now we need to implement it, right? Like, and that is part of the equation that I think people just forget about. You know, they're like, oh, we solved it.
Done.
We looked at it. You know what I mean? We're showing a light on it. Well, great.
Yeah.
Well, implement the solving, implement the strategy. You know, so that's what I'm trying to like really focus on now. Is like, let's not just figure it out. Let's figure it out and then put it into action.
Yeah, makes that. It almost has to become a new standard operating procedure.
Correct.
At that point.
Yeah. Until it changes, until it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, man, for sure, dude. I could go all day. It's already been 44 minutes. Holy crap!
Has it really?
Yeah. This doesn't usually go that long, but it was a good conversation.
No, I enjoyed that. I really did.
Man.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Look in here and tell them where they can find you.
Scott Cody, 3131 Media Solutions on Twitter, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. Everything's under 3131 Media Solutions. Thanks for having me on.
Man. Yeah. I appreciate you being by, and we'll see you next time, and let's talk. We'll
without a doubt.
After this. Spaghetti on the Wall, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Leduc Entertainment. For all of your social media video needs, we got you. And you can watch Spaghetti on the Wall anywhere. Spaghetti, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Just look it up. You find it on Google. It's all over the place. We're about to hit 100 episodes.